Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name's Adrian, and today I'm going to take my review of the Sauvage King, which is the latest supplement for Pendragon 6th edition by Chaosium. Just right out the bat, let me just explain. Chaosium have actually sent me this PDF copy. They haven't asked me to review it, but Pendragon's one of those games, whenever I'm asked, is there anything that you want? Pendragon is at the top of the list. I have loved Pendragon since the 90s. I fell in love with it, and it's such an incredibly good two-part game because you've got all the adventure and then you've got the winter phase. If you've never played it, I highly recommend that you pick up the starter set. That's a really great place to be. So this is the latest one, the Sauvage King. It is a sandbox adventure with 3 other adventures and then 3 incredibly, I think you're going to want to pick it up for these random generators that are at the back, regardless of whether you like the idea of this sandbox adventure. Now, this book has only just recently come out, so I've got to be very careful how I'm going to show it. I am going to do my standard sort of go through page by page, but there'll be certain things that I'm going to sort of skip through, not talk about too much, because I do not want to spoil the main adventure. So the Sauvage King is this wonderfully epic. So, author is dead. No spoilers there. I think if you played Pendragon, we're heading into the age of the Boy King. And with his death, a sort of magical fairy-like forest has erupted. Obviously, this is the main plot, if that makes sense. And it's miles and miles of, and it's those primordial forests. When you think of a modern forest, you think you can just walk through trees, because a lot of forests are, especially in this country, they've been created, if that makes sense. So all the older forests have disappeared, but these are incredibly dense. They're really hard to sort of get through. And it's a sandbox adventure. I was kind of looking at it, and it kind of feels like a choose-your-own adventure, but it's a very much an unchoose-your-own adventure. And I'll show you what I mean when we get there. We've then got 3 other really good and interesting adventures that you can play. And then I say the random generators at the back are sweet as. So before I go through where you can pick this up, as ever, I'm going to take you over to RPG, where you can pick up just the PDF copy. Say if you don't want a physical copy of this, you'll want to get the PDF at least for those 3 random generators at the back. They are absolutely essential, I think, for a games master. So here we are, the Sauvage King. Comes in at 80 pages. It's quite small. Obviously, you can pick up physical copies and PDF copies direct from Chaosium website, variety of websites here in the UK and wherever local friendly game store, wherever you're going to pick this up from. But if you want just the PDF, here we've got the link here. So in the heart of Logres, the enchanted wood festers grows. The realms of Madog, the king at the Forest Sauvage hold many great perils. Oh, it's really, really good. And it's going to be really difficult to cover this. I think the beauty of it, I'm really heading into my conclusion already, but yeah, the beauty of this is this is designed to just be instantly added to any existing campaign. It's not designed to be run as a separate campaign. You don't just play the forest because of reasons that I'm going to explain once we get into it. So here we've got the front cover. I had a bit of a background into this. So this is one of the quests, part of the adventures from the Great Pendragon campaign, which is one of the greatest campaigns of all time. Chaosium are reprinting it, so I'm interested to see where that's going to slot in, whether this is just going to be, something that you can add in for a few years in there, or whether they're just going to exclude this entirely, and it's just going to be something that runs alongside it. Hopefully the Great Pendragon campaign will be out this year. If not, I'm fully expecting it to be 2027, and if I ever get a review copy, don't worry, I will be covering it on here. So let's just, here we've got the front cover. Always mysterious, very much Arthurian in the legends. And we've got the writer, because obviously Greg originally wrote this, sadly passed away a few years ago. But David Zeman and Doyle Wayne Ramos Taverner have picked this up and sort of converted it and modernised it to the 6th edition rules, if that makes sense. Saying that, there's not a lot of difference between 6th and any of the previous editions. But we've got all the line editors, producers and stuff on the left-hand page. And then we've got the contents over here, hyperlinked, which is amazing. But as you can see, it's going to take you through a bit of an introduction, 2 pages. Then most of the book, all the way up to page 57, is the Forest Sauvage adventure. And this isn't going to be too spoily, but It's going to take you through the background, how it works, how the players move around, interact with it. And then we've got a ton of adventures that are in here. So it starts here, so adventuring in the forest, and then we've got the game of chance, which is the first one. It's not the first one the players will discover, which I'll explain, because it's an unchoose your own adventure. That's what I'm going with for this. We're then going to get into the Black Annis adventure, which can be dropped in wherever. The adventures of the White Horse Vale can also be sort of dropped in as well. And then we're going to get the other scenarios at the back, which say these random tables, which are absolutely brilliant to go with. And like all Pendragon stuff, loads of random tables. Key thing is you're going to need a copy of the starter set or the core rulebook to actually play this, but it can slot in. It kind of fits in and around the Grey Knight. It kind of sort of follows on from in there, or follows on from the starter set. Really depends where you want to go. The main forest adventure said runs from 508 to 518, but the rest of them, if you want to adapt it into any of the periods, you can just, really drop it in. So I've really covered the background of it, which I say is just going to take you through. Arthur is dead, waiting for the new king, which is why the forest has sort of grown and taken over. But I kind of don't want to sort of spoil. But here we go. The Forest Sauvage covers roughly 4,000 square miles in the heart of Logres. The vast and forbidden forest is framed by 3 ancient routes. Okay, we've got the Foss Way, the Ermine Street, and the pre-Roman Incarnate Way. Okay. Now, this isn't too much of a spoiler. I really don't want to spoil this, but it's incredible. What the game's going to do is going to give you 4 introductory ways of getting in. So the Sauvage King has stolen a child and replaced it with a changeling, so you're going to start with the changeling adventure. Or the Sauvage King's activities have gained the attention of Saint Dubricus. Oh, I'm really sorry about this. This is terrible. Butchering. Merlin the Magician, start with the Fiend of Sauvage. The expansion King's Domain is cutting off the tribute county from the world, and King Arthur sends some messages to investigate, start with the King Arthur's message. And then we've got King Sauvage Domain intrudes upon the Count Lambor, who pegs King Arthur for assistance, start with the Count of Lambor. Okay. So very generic for starting points, starting adventure ideas. But as the adventure goes on, it's then going to give you, it's got 5 personal ideas to sort of personalize it down for the players. I'm not going to kind of say what they are, but it's really good the way that it's done, because what it does is it gives the players a generic, here's a reason to go. But then as time goes on, they're going to get a personal reason, because as I said towards the start, this is not a campaign setting. This is a sandbox that the players will come into and go out of, and they may never come back. They don't have to. And if they don't come back, time is still going to carry on in the forest. So once 518 rolls around, what will happen whether the players interact with it or not. They can stop it happening if they go backwards and forwards. So it's really up to the players and you as the games master whether you want to sort of involve the players in this and, sell those hooks for the players to just keep coming back. Now, what we've got here is we've got the points of entry into the forest, okay? And these are called the threshold. So they have to achieve over a threshold a certain thing, normally a plot hook or an adventure, to succeed to get in. If not, the forest is going to eject them. And it doesn't always eject them where they went in. So they're going to quickly find out this is magical. You're then going to go to the winter phase. They then may come back. That's really how Pendragon works. You get an adventure, be a session, 2 sessions, winter phase, decide what you're going to do, that's why I fell in love with it. And as well as the virtue system, which is amazing. But depending where they first go in will determine, I've got to be careful because I don't really want to show the next page, so I'm going to skip it. It gives you a table on what the first quest is to go in, and some of them are set quests, missions, so to speak. Others are random. There's a random generator for what they do. Okay, so actually I could just show this. This is where we are. So these are your random points of entry. So depending on where they are, it will determine which sort of threshold adventure they do, and if successful, which one they go on to. Which is what I'm saying. It's not quite to choose your own adventure. You can choose your starting point to a reason, but if you succeed, you get an adventure. If you fail, you may be rejected from the forest. But the further adventures you go into, you may pass or succeed or fail, in those quests, which may then, if you succeed, you're always going to go on a step. And if you fail, you may not actually hit the threshold and be rejected. You may actually go off to a different quest as well. So one thing it does talk about is surviving in the forest. So to make it last, you need to make sure people have got rations and food, and they're going to be hunting and all these things that they're going to have to keep on top of. Now, as they go through, they will discover new people, creatures. Time is going to move on the outside world as they're in the forest as well. So you're still going to get the winter phase. I don't kind of mean that they're going to go into the forest and they're going to come out 10 years later, but it's magical in essence, and there's a lot of magical creatures, witches, and things like that to discover in here. But eventually they're going to get to a point where they will... So how do I do this without spoiling it? There are 3 different routes to the centre. Okay, I'm not going to say what's in the centre. And as they are succeeding in their missions, the longer the route they take, the easier it is to get to their goal. Okay, I think that's probably the fairest way of saying it. And so, yeah, it's... And also, the weird thing is, it's a little bit like, I kind of got it in that Narnia-esque, if you've ever read The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, or watched the films and things like that. It has that, you're not always going to necessarily come in at the same point or be rejected out at the same point backwards. It's such a really interesting sandbox adventure. I say it's sandbox within reason, because it's not like a point crawl. I'd say I'm going to stick with unchoose your own adventure. Because, we've all done those books where you go, if you do this, go to page whatever. If you do this, go to page whatever it may be. It's kind of like that, but it's on succeed and pass. But you don't really get to opt because you're never going to opt to fail what you're trying to do. And actually, as you head towards the last bit, you've got this multi-faceted adventure that's going to make you go and do lots of different things to get that fantastically well-written, really interesting adventure. So chapter 2 is going to be the adventure of the Black Anis. And Black Anis is a demonic hag. Her features are livid blue, and she has great teeth and iron claws, which she used to dig out a cave. Now, one thing it does say in here, so I'm not going to spoil this one, but one says, this adventure presents a deadly foe with the potential to kill some or even all of the player knights. As such, she should not be encountered lightly. It will be a challenge for even the most experienced knights. So be careful on this one. You might want to foreshadow a variety of things. Do not put this in once the players start going. And you're going to want the players to have gathered several seasons and years of glory and just become a little bit more powerful. So be wary on this. But obviously you can slot this in almost anywhere. And then we've got the adventure of the White Horse Vale. So this adventure is best undertaken with at least 4 knights. They should all have a trusty steed capable of long rides. The player knights must learn of this event themselves and not be common knowledge amongst the nobility of Salisbury. They might learn it from anyone, but for our purposes, we introduce the games master by the Knights of the Old Way. Story itself, so it's a special year, the centenary anniversary of the foaling of Epena, the horse goddess. The Knights of the Old Way say anyone's presence at the Great White Horse during the next full moon will have an opportunity to receive a great gift. I'm going to leave it there. Who's not going to want to, if you discover that, you're going to want to go and find that out for yourself. But chapter 4 is going to bring us into other scenarios. So we've got the adventures of the Salisbury Hare, which is like a set little mini adventure, the sort of lights that you're going to get in the Games Master's Guide. And then the final 3, so the adventures on the Night Upon the Road, the adventures of the Damsel in Distress, and the adventure of the Mysterious Magician, all work in the same way. So these are... I'm going to say you've almost got an infinite amount of adventures, one-shots, things in here. So, for example, the adventure of the Night Upon the Road. You will see him at a place, and the posture is the knight awaits. Said knight will be in an activity, and he offers a challenge of type to the players. They do this because of whatever reason, and they will benefit from it. And the challenger as well is going to be something with a secret. So I'll roll a little bit out before I get into the sort of secrets and challenges. So, because it means I'm going to turn over. So the place is roll a d20. So the place is a well near a road. And then the posture is another d20, 7. So impassioned with passion. We've got here. So the passion, it's going to give me, as D6 on the table, honor. Okay. So night awaits. The knight is engaged in, let's see what D20 activity is. It's a 6. He's in a battle with a beast. So we need to find... Is there a beast table here? There isn't a beast table, so you're just going to need to find a beast out of the Games Master's Guide. Who offers a challenge, and what challenge is he going to offer? A 4. So let's just roll over the type of challenge. A joust. The first to 3 wins. And then it will give you the reason why he's doing it. Let's just have a quick look at his reason. The reason he's doing it is because of his love of battle. He's just one of those. He's a knight that goes around. And then we've got some sort of beneficiary things in here and orders and say. And you've got the same thing for the damsel in distress as well as the mysterious mage there. Say those 3 last little adventures. I say adventures. They're not adventures. They are tables to create adventures. Every games master is going to want those in their toolkit, because I think we all have this where, you know, you're planning out campaigns or adventures and things, and the players will just do I want to go somewhere else, and you're completely unprepared. So you go down the rule of either having a encounter ready, or, do you know what? Because these tables are quite quick and easy, you can actually get the players to roll it. And that is the players are going to enjoy this. The fact that they can actually roll, and you're just going to be thinking on the fly and where they go. It's going to take a little bit of learning and a little bit of practice. So, you might want to, before when you get in the book, before you get into adventures or sessions, just sit and have a roll and practice. Pick the one that you like the most, that will flow the easiest. But let's just get back to that Sandbox unchoose your own adventure, the Sauvage King Forest. See, I've recently picked up Dolmenwood, and I've been reading through that. And, okay, this isn't as epic in essence as Dolmenwood, and I don't sort of throw in that comparison. But this, I was quite surprised, actually, when I started reading this, because I was fully expecting this just to be a campaign. We're going to take, when you sort of read it from 508 to 518, you're like, okay, they're going to be 10 years in this forest, etc. No. It's done in such an amazing way that allows the players that if they don't want to, you've wasted your money on the book. Well, you haven't, because you've got those, those 3 random tables, adventure campaign creators at the back, and then you've got 3 other adventures anyway. But if the players aren't interested, you don't have to. You can just carry on with your sessions and your adventures. I think the most heroic knight, Arthurian legend and Pendragon, is you're kind of always playing heroic knights. They're going to want to go and stop this forest from sort of taking over and encroaching on the land. And you've got Merlin, Arthur, a variety of people telling them to go and do it. And then it's got those 5 personal hooks, which I didn't want to spoil those, but it's going to give all the players specific reasons to venture into the forest. And then they're going to fail a threshold, and it's going to throw them out. They're going to go, we need to go back in there. We need to go and discover it. And as a games master, you can either give them something else over the next year, or let them go back in again. And again, if they succeed, they can go a little bit further. And they're going to get onto the next node. And then it might reject them, which might throw them back a node, back into the threshold, or spew them out of the forest again. And eventually they're going to start going back and forward, getting further and further in. Again, depending on how they go in, because they could come in from different. It's such a really interesting idea that I think the intrigue and the creatures and monsters in there are going to keep the players excited, because these are heroic knights. You're not. It's not like you're going to have, some games where they have you go, I want to be relatively evil, or I don't really care about solving puzzles because I'm just in it for wealth and gold. Pendragon isn't that game. You put a puzzle or a mystery box in front of them. And when I say mystery box in the nicest way, this is a mystery forest that, say, full of supernatural creatures, witches, monsters. And it's going to make the players fail, because they're very unlikely to succeed at the node all the time. And say, if they want to go the quick route's the hardest route. So they might slowly learn different ways in. Absolutely brilliant. The hag, I've looked at the stats of the hag, and I think they're right. Be wary where you put the hag in, because I think you need to kind of put this up there. The good thing is, I say you can slide it backwards and forwards. The hag one, the Sauvage Forest, is going to carry on whether the players interact with it or not. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there. This is a fantastic module. I think the only thing that I'm slightly sad at is only 88. It's only 80 pages. But there's a lot rammed in here. I would say I was quite surprised. It was one big adventure, 3 little adventures, well, 2 slightly little adventures, 1 tiny adventure, and then 3 incredibly cool random generators. Really good work, Chaosium. I really like what you've done with this. And let's just hurry up and get that, the Pendragon Grand Campaign out, because I think we all want to read it and we all want to play it. So I say, if you're going to pick this up, you can pick this up pretty much anywhere now, from your local friendly game store, variety of websites. If you want just the PDF, I'm going to say, as a games master, you're going to want those last 3 tables. If you can't fund to go into the full book, which I think is about £25, it's not that expensive because it is quite small. At least pick up the PDF for those tables. And obviously, if you are going to pick up just the PDF, you can either get it direct from Chaosium or use my affiliate link, because any money generated in there, it will put back into the channel. Obviously, I did not pay for this. Being completely honest with you and up front, Chaosium did send me this. Said they haven't asked me to review it. They knew I was going to review it because they watched my channel. I don't know, but yeah, Pendragon is such an amazing game. Go and try it. Buy this, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching.